in the previous example, we have seen how to use execute reader to get multiple records. So now we will see the example of how to use execute scalar. So again, the steps are again same. First, add the DLL. Second, use the connection object, create, initialize it. Next, I will be using object of SQL command, create it. Now suppose I wanted to get number of employees working with us. Okay, so my query will be select count star from table name, and then I will pass connection object also. Open the connection, and now I will use execute scalar. Now execute scalar is a method that we use when you only wanted to get one value by executing this query. That means single value. Now execute scalar, if it is returning something, I have to store it somewhere also. So I will store the result in a count variable, integer type, but execute scalar, it returns records, it returns a value in object form. Okay, so I need to convert it to the appropriate type. So in my case, it will be into integer. So whatever result will come, I have to convert that result into whatever type we wanted to have here, and then I will display a message, total number of employees the last step, obviously close the connection and dispose the connection. Now if we run this application now, so total number of employees are 6. So execute scalar is used when you will get only one value, single value form by executing the query. In the next example, we will see how to use execute non-query. Okay, so in this example, we will see how to use execute non-query. So execute non-query method we use when you want to execute the query and we do not want it to get any result. Okay, it is for which operations? For DML operations, for insert, update and delete. So how to use this now? Again, we need the connection first. Suppose I want to insert the record. So my query will be insert into employee values. I will pass the name from here, and then I will say the department, and then I will say experience. So this has to close here, and our connection object, it will come after this. Open the connection, com.execute non-query. Okay, so this method, it runs the query and it also returns number of rows affected, and then obviously we have to close the connection, and then we have to say again dispose, to destroy this object. So we execute this program again. So no message is coming here, but if we see the database, we will see that this one record is inserted there now in the table. So this record is coming here. Similarly, if you want to update the records, so I can replace my query here now. So my query will be update employee. Suppose I want to change the department to HR with the employee experiences more than 5 years. So I can say Set department to HR where experience is more than 5. Okay, but I also wanted to know how many records are updated. So in that case, I will use a variable here, count, and then I can display it here. Total number of records updated are count. Okay, because execute non-query, it returns number of rows affected by executing the query. So we execute this application now. So total number of records updated are 5. Which means that this query has updated 5 records. So we have seen in the different examples in which case we should use execute reader, execute scalar, and execute non-query. Till now, we have not used any parameters in any of the queries. So all the queries, the values were hard-coded. We have also not used any stored procedures anywhere. Okay. So now next example, we will see how to use parameters within the queries. Okay, so now we will see how we can pass parameters to the command object. So I'm making object of again command, new SQL command. Select star from employee. But suppose the department name, we wanted to see the employees list, okay, for a particular department. And the department name will be entered by the user at runtime. So my query will be while where department is equal to, now this value will come from the user at runtime. So we have to pass a parameter here now. So I will use here a parameter. Okay. So this is the query. Select star from employee where department. This is a column, this is a parameter whose value I will give at runtime now. And then I have to also pass the connection object. So now I will ask the user, enter department whose record to display. So I will declare a parameter or a variable here, console dot read line. So this was my command. Now I will add one parameter here. So I can say, because this parameter, whatever parameter I have to pass, this has to be added to this command object. Because this command object, it contains the command, it also contains the parameters. So I will say here now, command dot parameters dot add with value. And I'm using here, so the parameter name is what? It is department. And the value will come from which variable? From this department variable. Okay. So by using this, I'm forwarding the value of this department variable to this parameter, which will be replaced at this location. Now again, the next step is open the connection and execute the query. So we'll use in this case now execute reader. Again, to hold the records, I will use object of SQL data reader. Again, I will have to use the loop to iterate through all the records. So console.write line. I'm only displaying name and department, and then we will say connection dot close, connection dot dispose. So if we execute this, now we will see how we have passed the parameter here now. So we have to enter the department name here first. Suppose I enter here HR. So I will be able to see records of only HR department. So I'm not able to see records of Vijay Kumar and Suman Garg. But if I enter here sales, I will be able to see only one record. Okay, nothing is coming. Let me just check. Okay, this is because we have replaced the value with HR in the previous example. So I will use accounts here. So we'll get one record. So this is how we pass the parameters to the command object. I've shown you one example that how we can use ADO.NET to connect front end with back end, and I've used console application in the previous example. So in this example, I'm going to use web application to show you how to use ADO.NET to connect web application with database. So already there is a project. I'm just adding one form here. So I'm adding a web form. Okay, so this form is added here now. So I will go to the code behind file. So this is the page default. Sorry, the page is web form that I have added here. So this is the code behind file. So I will add first the DLL, and the next step is again same. We have to create the connection object command. We have to pass the connection object again as the second parameter. Then open the connection. So I will take a grid view here with which I will bind all the records. So I will use this grid view here to bind grid view with all the records. So I will say SQL data reader execute and with this grid view I will bind the records. So grid view dot data source is equal to, it is read. So also we will say grid view 1 dot data bind. And then you will say again con dot close to close the connection, and then we will say con dot dispose. Okay, so we are in this application. So build has started now. So build has succeeded, and now we will be able to see all the records in the grid view. And as you can see that we are able to see all the records in the grid view now. So when we have used console application, I was using a loop to iterate through all those records. But when I'm using a grid view, I'm able to bind the grid view with the records that are stored in the read object. Okay. So next we will see how to insert records, and now I will be using the parameters because I do not want it to hard code the values. So I will make one more form here, or rather I will do it on the same page. So we'll take some text boxes here. So txt name. So I will add one more text box here now. Enter experience. I will take one more text box here. So this txt department, this is txt experience. And now I will take a button using which I will do insertion. It is btn insert. Okay. So this is our page. If I click on this insert button, now again all the steps are again same. So I will again use SQL connection object here. Next is SQL command insert into employee values, but the values are not hard coded, but the values will be passed as a parameters. So I will be using here now @name, @department, @experience, close the bracket, and then I will again pass connection object as a second parameter. Okay, now before we open the connection, we have to add these parameters to this command object. So we'll say com.parameters.add with value. So @name, it will get its value from which control? Its value will come from txt name.txt. Okay. Next is com.parameters.add with value @department and value of this parameter, it will come from txt department dot txt. Next is value of experience. So we have to convert it to integer because in database it is in integer form in 16. So the ID of the text box was txt.ext. So we have to convert this to integer form. Okay. So now with this our command object is complete. Now it contains a query, it also contains the parameters. Next, open the connection. com.execute non-query. And then we will say connection dot close. To close the connection, the last step is destroy the connection object. So if we execute this application now, so the build has started. So we can see that we have found this page now. So if I enter the name here, I enter the department here, we enter the experience and click on insert. So again we have to refresh the page to get the records. So we can see. So the record is added and we have bound it with the grid view also. So in this way we can pass the parameters within the query. Similarly, we can also do updation, deletion, and we can pass the values from the user. Okay, so the values will not be hard-coded in that case. So in the next session, we will see how to use stored procedures with ADO.NET. So before we want to use stored procedures, we will make some stored procedures in database first. So I will make a procedure. List records, or you can say simply list EMPS as begin select star from employee. Next will be for inserting the records. The values will come from the user. So I will declare some parameters here. Name, @experience int, insert into end. So this is also done. Next I want to suppose update the records. I will say create I will pass ID on which I will search the record, and suppose I want to change department or experience. So department we will take from the user as a parameter. Update employee. ID. So this is also done. We will do one last for deletion of records. So create procedure, and we should only pass the ID as parameter. And this is also done. Okay. Okay, so we have to give the type also of this parameter here. This procedure. So all these are done now. So we have 4 procedures. List ends, insert underscore emp, update underscore emp, delete underscore emp. Sorry, I will change it. I will make it emp. And now we have to call these procedures from the application, from the console application or web application. So I will go to web application now. On the same form, I will take one panel here. Enter ID, whose record, I'll start from beginning. Okay, so we need to perform all these operations by using stored procedures now. So I will come to the code behind file now. Now this is inline query. Now I wanted to replace this inline query by using a stored procedure. So what is the difference that we have to add here now? We have to only mention the stored procedure name here. But we need to tell that this is a procedure. This is not a single query. So for that I will add one more thing here. Command type is equal to command type dot store procedures. Okay. So this is to tell that this is a procedure. This is not a single query. So this is the only change that we have to do if we want to call a store procedure, because in this case I'm not passing any parameter. So if you will see this, okay, so the records are coming here because it is linked with the stored procedure now. Now what is the benefit of using stored procedures? Stored procedures are always stored in pre-compiled form. So it will always take less time to execute the query. Because if we write a simple query here, so all the SQL statements are compiled every time we execute them. But if it is a stored procedure, it will be compiled for the first time only, and then it is stored in a pre-compiled form. So for the rest of the calls, it will be done faster. So stored procedures are basically used for improving performance of the application. Okay. So now we will start with the next insert operation. Okay, that we wanted to perform by using stored procedure. So I will start from beginning now. So we have to use procedure now. The procedure name is insert underscore ent. Next we need to give the connection object here, parameters at with value @name, and the value will come from again txt name dot txt. @department, and the value will come from txt department dot txt. Com dot parameters dot add with value experience, and the value will come from txt. Now we need to convert it to integer form. Open the connection. And destroy the connection. Now when we are using a procedure, so we are missing one thing here. We have to also tell that this is a procedure name. So we'll use command type property. Store procedure. Okay. And when we use any store procedure here, so whatever names are giving here, these names should match with the names of the parameters that we are using in the store procedures. So all the names should match with these parameter names. So this is how we are calling insert procedure from this web application through ADO.NET. So if we enter some record here now, again refresh this page and we will see. So this record is also inserted through the store procedure in database. Similarly, if I want to perform updation deletion also using store procedures, so we will do updation first. So enter ID whose record to modify, and we will take a text box here. Enter department. So I will take one button here for performing updation. Okay. Again, all the steps are again same. We need the connection object, and then we need the command object here. But now I need to pass the name of the store procedure. So it was update underscore emp. And next we need to give the connection object here. Need to tell that this is a procedure. And this command type, it is stored in this namespace, system.data. And we are passing some parameters also here. So we will say again parameters dot add with value. So value of id, it will come from, okay. So we will change name of IDs of these text boxes. So txt id, txt new department, txt new experience, btn update. Okay. So value of id, it will come from, again we need to convert it to integer. I can also take byte. Txt id dot text. Sorry, we do not want to change name, so I will take department. Txt new department dot text. Txt new experience dot text. Again open the connection, execute non-query, close the connection. So once it is done, again we have to remember that whatever parameter names we are giving here, these names, these should match with parameter names which are in the procedure. So if we execute this, and if I enter, suppose ID is 8, I wanted to change his department to sales, and I wanted to change, suppose, experience also to 12. So if again I refresh this, so you can see that its record is updated now. The last one is for deletion. So I'm again adding it on the same page. So I will again add one more panel here. To save time, I will just copy this text box. Okay, first I need to copy this, cut this panel outside this panel here. So this I will add in the second panel just to separate the operations. So txt id, and then I will take one button also here. Let me take this button. So again, we need to call the procedure here. So I'm just copying all this code from here. But in this case, we only need ID. So the procedure name is now delete emp. And its value will come from txt id to delete. Okay. So again, if we execute this now to delete the records based on what ID the user will enter. Okay, so this is our coding for deletion of the records now. Again, I'm calling this procedure delete underscore emp, and I need to pass an ID from here, and the value of ID it will come from this text box now. So the other steps are similar that we have done for insertion and deletion of the records. So if we execute this, and if I enter the ID here, suppose I want to remove record of 3, click on delete, and if I refresh this page, so this record is removed from here now. Okay, so till now we have seen how to use ADO.NET to connect, act as a bridge between front-end application and back-end application. Okay, and to see we have seen examples. We have taken two interfaces. I've taken console application and I have also taken web application to show you the differences. Means whatever is the interface, but if you want to connect with database, we have to use ADO.NET here in .NET. And then we have seen how to use parameters to pass along with the command object. Okay.